Greetings, all! Today, we will be examining the common grass-type Pokemon Seedot, the Acorn Pokémon, its relatively uncommon grass dark-type evolution Nuzleaf, the Wily Pokémon, and its relatively rare final evolution Shiftry, the Wicked Pokémon. Though they might come off as not so much as a threat at a young age, the members of the Seedot family are wicked creatures that can make good use of their deceptive intelligence to outwit and overcome opponents even if they might be at a disadvantage.
Seedot have acorn-shaped bodies with a brown-based body color and a striped grayish cap on top with a small stem that they use to attach themselves to branches. They walk on two small beige feet, and the only other feature of note are their eyes, which have a beige woody coat around them and are black in color with beige pupils. Their evolved form, Nuzleaf, have fairly humanoid bodies with a single pair of three-toed feet and hands that have a single large gripping appendage with an opposable thumb. They retain the same brown body color, but their legs are coated in light brown pods of woody material to help with absorbing shocks from jumping around, as well as small dimples on their chest, a full face with mouth and black eyes, the front of their face having a light brown coating of woody material, and a long pointed nose, as well as a single leaf that sprouts from the top of their head. Their final evolution, Shiftry, have a more lustrous brown body and walk on what look to be gaita sandals of some sort attached to their feet, which actually help to make them more fleet-footed and nimble when moving on the ground. They retain a long pointed nose, but their eyes have turned a pale yellow color, while they have also developed large pointed ears and a thick mane of white straw-like hair that covers their face and flows down their back long enough to touch the ground and keep going when standing. Additionally, their hands have changed into a pair of fan-shaped outgrowths of 3 large leaves on each appendage, which allow them to generate powerful windstorms at their discretion. The members of the Seedot family are a bit different from most plant-based Pokemon in that they tend to follow a notable change in behavior and biology as they grow and develop, their feeding habits and communal practices altering as they transition from stages in the life cycle. Starting out as Seedot, these creatures are primarily defensive in nature and take on the form of an acorn mimic in order to blend in with trees and keep themselves protected against direct attack from bird Pokemon, hoping to hide in plain sight. Even if they are detected, they can move to scare off others that try to peck at them, thinking they are just oversized acorns of some sort. As they grow and develop into Nuzleaf, however, they become extremely wily, hence their species title, and become far craftier and more intelligent in their operations. They will often travel in large packs as they gather berries from their forested homelands in order to keep an eye on potential predators, and are armed with some special powers not seen in Seedot, courtesy of their more humanoid anatomy and the development of dark-type powers that can make them a bigger threat than Seedot ever could be. Finally, when they do manage to evolve fully into Shiftry, they tend to become more reclusive and only ever live within trees that are at least 1,000 years old, patiently waiting to gather food until they know for certain they will not be attacked. This is not done out of fear though, as these creatures can whip up terrible windstorms that blow away others, instead just preferring to keep to themselves at all times.
Despite the differences that separate them, these creatures are still plants through and through, and their abilities reflect this, as the tendency to be able to stay up for long periods of time and their natural plant-based biology allows them to have access to chlorophyll and early bird as base abilities, while those that are especially tricky and can easily swipe away items from others when they are not paying attention can have pickpocket as a hidden ability.
In looking at their stats, with Shiftry in particular, it can be said that their defenses are not incredibly strong and they thus have a bit of a hard time taking a hit, but this is made up by them having strong stamina levels and being fairly agile and strong on offense, with their base attack and speed stats being above average for a fully evolved grass-type Pokemon, and their base HP and special attack stats being above average for fully evolved grass and dark-type Pokemon. These plants can more than prove to be just as wicked as their forms might denote, and in turn can prove to be fairly dangerous organisms to have to face without the strong offenses needed to take them down in a hurry. In their initial evolutionary state, Seedot are parasitic in nature and feed off of the internal water and nutrient reserves of trees. They do this by attaching the siphon-like stem that adorns the top of their form to tree branches and using it to slowly drain trees of their reserves, and Seedot can gather all the nutrition they need to survive using this method of extraction. Since they do not require a great deal of resources in order to sustain their simple form, more than a dozen of these creatures can attach themselves to a tree without causing it any ill effects. As these creatures absorb water, the outside of their bodies becomes glossier as the tissue swells and acts as a nutrient reservoir, holding excess water and nutrients for these creatures if they must be separated from a host tree for any length of time. This same glossy effect can be achieved by these creatures rubbing their bodies against leaves, and they do so at least once a day, though the reason why is still uncertain. Regardless, it is quite easy to tell when these creatures have had their fill, as their bodies will become so heavy that their siphon cannot support their weight and they fall to the ground with an audible thud. Since they look very similar to acorns, these creatures are able to usually feed in peace and can readily scare away birds that peck at them, mistaking them for regular nuts. And this works well for them as they do not gain much in the way of useful offense at a young age to defend themselves with otherwise. Even so, it is pretty easy to tell them from normal acorns, as when a strong wind blows them off their perch, real acorns rarely get back up on their feet and move up to the host tree to reattach themselves. As Seedot evolve into Nuzleaf, they gain the capacity to utilize anti-positive energy as a weapon in and out of battle and become partial dark types in the process. And their anatomy changes to the point where they become capable of learning a host of new moves, getting access to the Razor Leaf attack immediately after evolving, and learning Leaf Blade and the odd extra sensory attack, as well as the Air Cutter, Torment, Fake Out, Swagger, and Synthesis moves with a bit of artificial help. Plus, the EVO changes from one in defense to two in attack. But they also experience a slight decrease in the base defense stat. These creatures live in boreholes made in large trees within densely overgrown forests, and are adept at climbing them, using this trick to scale the plants to survey their territory on a regular basis, something that they absolutely hate to see others violate without their permission to enter. This often goes to the point where they will gladly leave their own territory and exit the edges of forests just to scare others that might try and walk in, and they show no sympathy towards outsiders, oftentimes setting traps for them to fall in so they can be captured and detained for going where they shouldn't have.
This is made worse by the fact that these creatures are excellent at making traps, and can often effectively contain and protect their habitat from anyone that dares to trespass. And while they usually do let their captives go after they think they have learned their lesson, it is not unheard of for more tenacious captives to be held down until they starve to death.
To try and prevent such incidents from ever getting that far though, Nuzleaf will often pluck the leaf growing on their head and use it as a whistle to play a dreadful tune designed to instill a sense of uneasiness in anyone that hears it, using it as a warning for others to keep away if they are close enough to hear the melody. Thankfully, if one is confronted by these creatures, they can be subdued by grabbing and pinching their nose, as it is filled with a great deal of sensitive neural tissue and thus can severely weaken them if their nose is put under extreme pressure.
While Nuzleaf are incapable of evolving under normal circumstances and time constraints, exposure to the radiant energy of a leaf stone allows these creatures to assume their full set of powers and evolve into Shiftry, one of the most terrifying creatures to encounter in any forest.
These beast-like plants, as noted before, tend to live in the oldest and deepest parts of forests and are extremely territorial, attacking others with extreme violence and gusto the moment a target strays too far towards their territory. As with their pre-evolved form, there is no way to get around this, as these beasts do have some psychic power to them and can thus readily predict the actions of opponents before they make them, allowing Shiftry to often get in a preemptive strike. While they are vicious in their temperament, what really makes these creatures a threat is the development of fan-like leaf structures in place of hands, which allow these Pokémon to generate terrifying windstorms with speeds of nearly 100 feet per second, not only granting them access to the Leaf Tornado attack immediately after evolving, but also allowing them to learn the Whirlwind and Hurricane moves with a bit of artificial help. These winds can blow away just about anything that gets close to these creatures, while their unique foot form allows them to stand the ground effectively without blowing themselves over. And for reasons unknown, there's often a noticeable chill left in the air after they have done so, with some claiming that they tend to arrive in areas on chilly winter winds and only leave when spring approaches. This isn't really the case, but it does help to emphasize the strange powers these forest guardians have, and elevates them to a threat level more than worth taking serious in any fight.
Wicked in their actions as adults, and more than capable of proving to be a severe threat in the right cases, the members of the Seedot family are wily plants that can more than blow away those that threaten them and make good use of their physical forms in battle. You might have to go out of your way to get a leaf stone to make the most of their power, but it can be more than worth it if you want to see what these potential blowhards can really do, both up close and afar.
Just do yourself a favor and keep far away from them in the wild when not present as Seedot. Otherwise, they may likely take some issue with your proximity to them and let out their best assaults to get you to stay away and let them live in peace and isolation, lest you suffer from the worst torment they can provide to you to make a point on the matter. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
No.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.